This is background Nippon. There is nothing here that needs your attention. What follows is Japanese history, told slowly for the end of the day. The lanterns are lit. There is a tea bowl in a museum in Tokyo that is 400 years old. It is not beautiful in the way we usually expect beautiful things to be beautiful. It is pale, almost white, with a faint blush of pink where the clay was thickest. The surface is not smooth. It is covered in a fine network of cracks, so dense that the bowl looks, from a distance, like old skin. Where the glaze has cracked, it has taken on color over the centuries, gold in some lines, amber in others, a pale rust where iron from the tea settled in. The card beside it says, Hagi Ware, 17th century. Tea bowl. There is nothing else to say. The object has been speaking for itself for 400 years. This is a video about how it was made, what it means, and the people who still make it today. There is no rush. The kiln is lit. Settle in. In 1592, the warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi sent an army of 150,000 soldiers across the sea to Korea. Japan's invasion of Korea, there would be two, in 1592 and 1597, is remembered in Japan and Korea very differently. In Korea, it is called the Imjin War, and it is remembered as a catastrophe. Villages burned, populations displaced, a wound in the relationship between the two countries that has never entirely healed. In Japan, its legacy is more complicated. The military campaigns failed entirely. When Hideyoshi died in 1598, Japan withdrew. Nothing was gained, except for the pottery. The feudal lords who had campaigned in Korea came back with Korean potters. Some came willingly, offered work and patronage. Some did not. The historical record on this is imprecise. What is not imprecise is the result: Korean ceramic techniques carried into Japan by people who had spent their lives developing them, transformed Japanese pottery within a generation. This is where Hagi Ware begins. The domain of Hagi, on the western tip of Honshu, facing the Japan Sea, was ruled by the Mori clan. The Mori had participated in the Korean campaigns, and in their return they brought with them a family of potters. The brothers Ri Shakuko and Ri Keiko, known in Japan by the names Hagiwa Sako and Hagiwa Keiko. The family name they were given became, in time, the name of the ware they made, Hagi. The brothers were established in a workshop near the domain's castle town. They had patrons and materials and a place to work. What they brought with them was a technique, a way of preparing and firing clay that they had learned in Korea, and that produced something unlike anything the Japanese craftsmen of the period were making. The Lord wanted tea bowls. He wanted them for the tea ceremony, a practice at the heart of samurai culture in this period, a ritual of discipline and attention that required the right objects. And the Hagi potters made tea bowls unlike any he had seen before. The particular quality of Hagi ware comes from the clay. There are two types of local clay used in Hagi, Daido Tsuchi and Mitake Tsuchi. Both come from the area around the town of Hagi and cannot be precisely replicated elsewhere. The specific mineral composition is local. This is not unusual for regional ceramics, but in the case of Hagi, the local clay has a specific characteristic that is extraordinary. It is porous. After firing, Hagi ware retains a very fine network of microscopic pores in both the clay body and the glaze. This is not an accident or a defect. It is inherent to the material and, once understood, becomes the defining feature of the work. Those pores absorb liquid. The Hagi tea bowl is pale and quiet. Use it for tea, over months, over years, over decades. and the clay absorbs the tea. The glaze crazes with use and takes on color. The bowl changes. It does not wear out. It develops, the way a relationship develops, taking on the marks of what it has been through. The Japanese have a name for this: Hagi no Nanahake, the 7 transformations of Hagi. In the world of the tea ceremony, there is a ranking. It is not written down in any official document. It was not declared by any authority. It emerged from the consensus of tea masters over several centuries and has remained essentially stable for 300 years. First, Raku. Second, Hagi. Third, Karatsu. Raku Ware, from Kyoto, is the bowl of the Grand Masters, the ware associated with the tea ceremony's most rigorous philosophical tradition. Hagi is second, the bowl for daily use, for the practitioner who brings seriousness to the ordinary. Karatsu, from Kyushu, is third, slightly more rustic, warmer, more relaxed. The ranking is not about skill or beauty in any straightforward sense. It is about how well the bowl serves the ceremony, how it feels in the hands, how it holds heat, how it changes the experience of the tea being drunk from it. Hagi bowls are prized partly for their warmth. Fired at a lower temperature than many other wares, they retain heat longer than harder porcelains. A cup of tea held in a Hagi bowl stays warm in the hands, and the bowl warms in turn. The boundary between the object and the experience becomes very thin. The tea ceremony as a practice was shaped in the 15th and 16th centuries by a series of tea masters who were working with a concept called wabi. Wabi does not translate directly. The closest approximation is something like the beauty of incompleteness, of things that are humble, worn, slightly sad, the aesthetic of a winter landscape rather than a summer one, the beauty of objects that have been used and show it. The opposite of wabi is not ugliness. The opposite of wabi is ostentation, perfection that calls attention to itself, that demands to be admired. Hagi tea bowl, in its unpredictable glaze, its surface that changes with use, its slightly uneven form, is an object of wabi. It does not try to be perfect. It does not try to look like anything other than clay that has been fired. And because it does not try, because the making of it involved a certain surrender to the material, it achieves something that deliberate perfection cannot. The great tea master Sen no Rikyu, who died in 1591, is often credited with articulating wabi as the heart of the ceremony. He found his tea bowls in ordinary peasant rice bowls. He valued humility in an object above any other quality. He would have liked Hagi ware. He may have used it. A Hagi tea bowl begins on a wheel. The clay has been prepared in advance, wedged and kneaded until the texture is consistent, the air worked out, the material responsive. The Hagi clay feels different from most, softer, less resistant, more yielding. A potter from another tradition, working with it for the first time, usually has to adjust their pressure. The form is thrown, the bowl drawn up from the spinning clay by hand. Most Hagi potters work with a slightly thicker wall than is fashionable in some other traditions. This is partly aesthetic and partly practical. The thickness contributes to the heat retention, and it gives the glaze more material to craze against as the piece ages. After throwing, the bowl is trimmed at the base, the foot ring cut with a wooden tool, while the clay is leather hard. The foot ring of a Hagi bowl typically has 1 or 2 deliberate imperfections, a notch cut into the clay, an asymmetry left intentional. These are not random. They are a mark of the hand, a resistance to the idea that perfection is the goal. The piece is then dried slowly, bisque-fired, glazed, and fired again in a wood-burning kiln at approximately 1,280 degrees. The glaze, when it cools, may craze immediately, or it may not craze for years. The potter does not control this. The material decides. The kilns of Hagi are of a type called noborigama, climbing kilns. They are built on hillsides. A series of connected chambers rises up the slope, each one slightly higher than the last. The fire is lit at the bottom chamber and the heat rises, climbing through the chambers in sequence. The highest chamber reaches temperature last. Firing takes 3 to 4 days. The kiln must be tended continuously, stoking the fire, reading the color of the flame, adjusting the draw. The temperature inside is measured not with instruments but by the eye. The color of the glow through a small inspection hole tells an experienced potter where the kiln is and where it needs to go. The result of a firing is never entirely predictable. The flame moves where it wants to move. The ash from the wood falls where it falls, landing on pieces and melting into a glaze that was not designed. 2 bowls fired in the same kiln at the same time will come out different. This is not considered a problem. It is considered the work. The town of Hagi is worth knowing as a place, not only as the source of a pottery tradition. It sits at the mouth of the Abu River on the Japan seacoast of Yamaguchi Prefecture. The castle that gave the town its character was built in 1604 and demolished in 1874, under Meiji-era orders to tear down the old feudal symbols. What remains is the castle moat and the lower stone walls and the district of samurai residences that surrounded it. That district is still there. Hagi has been unusually resistant to the modernization that transformed most Japanese cities. The street grid of the old samurai quarter, narrow lanes between whitewashed earthen walls, the gates of former residences still standing, is intact in a way that is rare. Walking through it is, in some parts, genuinely disorienting in time. The potters' workshops are in this town. Many have been in the same family, on the same ground, for 10 generations or more. The continuity is not incidental. It is part of what the clay carries. For the first 2 centuries of Hagi Ware's existence, the tradition was controlled entirely by the domain. The Mori lords did not merely commission work from the potters. They integrated the pottery into the domain's identity. Hagi Ware was considered a prestige product, something to be given as diplomatic gifts, exchanged at the highest levels of the samurai world, used in the tea ceremonies that structured elite political life. The potters were not merchants in the ordinary sense. They were given a specific status within the domain hierarchy, somewhere between artisan and official. They were expected to produce for the lord's use first and private sale second. Their techniques were, in some sense, proprietary to the domain. This arrangement ended with the Meiji Restoration in 1868, when the feudal domain system was abolished. The potters became private craftsmen. The prestige that had supported them had to be rebuilt, in a new context, for a new market. Many succeeded. The tradition survived the transition, partly because the work was genuinely excellent, and partly because the Meiji period created, among the new educated class, an appetite for things that felt rooted in what Japan had been before the transformation. The phrase, Hagi no Nanahake, the 7 transformations, is not a precise technical description. There are not exactly 7 changes. The number is traditional, suggesting completeness. In Japanese usage, 7 often means many or all. What the phrase describes is the process by which a Hagi bowl, used regularly for tea over a long period, becomes something different from what it was when it left the kiln. A new Hagi bowl is white or pale grey, with a glaze that is either smooth or slightly crazed. It looks complete. It is not. Over the first year of use, the glaze begins to take on colour. The finest lines of the crazing become visible, filled with the tannins of green tea. The clay absorbs moisture and changes its character, slightly softer in feel, more responsive to warmth. Over a decade, the color deepens. The pattern of use becomes legible in the surface. Where hands have held the bowl, the oils of the skin have contributed to the patina. Where tea has been repeatedly absorbed, the tone is different from the areas that have touched only air. Over a century, the bowl is a record of its own history, not of great events, of small, repeated ones. Morning tea, evening tea, tea in winter when the bowl is cold at first and then warms, tea in summer when the coolness of the clay is welcome. This is what is meant by an object that improves with use. It does not wear down, it becomes. There are roughly 60 licensed potters working in Hagi today. The number is smaller than it was a generation ago. The number was smaller a generation ago than it was 2 generations ago. This is the story of most traditional crafts. The middle has hollowed out as the economic and social conditions that sustained a large craft community have changed. What remains is the serious end. Potters who have spent decades learning the tradition, often through apprenticeship, sometimes within a family that has been making Hagi ware for generations. They are not struggling hobbyists. They are professional craftspeople with international reputations and waiting lists. The best Hagi bowls sell for large sums, tens of thousands of dollars for the work of the most recognized masters. They are bought by tea ceremony practitioners, by collectors, by people who understand what they are getting, not an ornament, but a companion, something to use every day for the next 40 years. The transmission of the tradition happens slowly. An apprentice entering a Hagi workshop will spend the first year or more doing almost nothing that directly involves making pottery, cleaning the workshop, preparing clay, watching, fetching, understanding through proximity how the master moves through the day and the work. This is not unusual in traditional Japanese crafts. The idea is that the body learns before the mind does, that the right way to hold a tool, the right pressure to apply to clay, the right temperature to feel in a flame, are absorbed through presence before they can be taught through instruction. The potter Kaneta Masami, one of the most celebrated contemporary Hagi artists, has spoken about this process. He trained under his father, as his father trained under his grandfather. The techniques did not change significantly across those generations. What changed was the individual's relationship to them, what each person brought to the inherited form. This is the definition of a living tradition, not static preservation, but continuous reinterpretation from within a shared vocabulary. There is a particular kind of object that is designed to be used every day and to get better as it is used. Most of what we use every day is not this. Most of what we use every day is designed to withstand use, to resist change, to remain the same until it wears out and is replaced. This is efficient. It is not the same thing. A Hagi bowl is asking you to use it. It is asking you to use it repeatedly, with the same tea, in the same hands, over a long time. It is asking you to let it accumulate the residue of those mornings. In this sense, it is unlike almost any other object in daily life. It has a future. It is not finished when you buy it. It will be more finished in 20 years than it is now. In 40 years, it will be more finished still. You are not just buying a bowl. You are beginning something. There are Hagi bowls that have been in continuous use for 350 years. They are in museum collections now, the ones that have been identified and documented. But there are certainly others in private hands, in family tea rooms, that have not been identified or documented, that have simply been used. What the museum bowls look like after 3.5 centuries of use is extraordinary. The glaze is no longer the color it was. In some pieces, it has gone entirely. absorbed and replaced by the accumulated patina of tea and hands and time. The foot ring, where the potter left their notch, is worn smooth. The lip is slightly different in character from the rest of the piece, handled differently from above. These objects have been in human hands every few days, for longer than most nations have existed. They have outlasted the potters who made them, the lords who commissioned them, the tea masters who drank from them, the students who inherited them. They have outlasted, by several centuries, almost everything else about the world they came from. And they are still usable. If you took one out of its display case and filled it with tea, it would hold the tea. It would warm in your hands. It would do what it was made to do. Very few things can say this. The Japan sea coast in winter is not the Japan of tourist photographs. It is grey. The sky is grey. The sea is grey and rough, running from the direction of Korea with long swells that break against the rock coast with a sound you can hear from the streets of the town. The whitewashed walls of the old samurai district absorb the grey light and become grey themselves. In this light, a pale Hagi tea bowl in two hands makes sense in a way it might not in other climates. The warmth it holds, the way the clay warms as the tea cools, is not a minor thing in a Japanese sea winter. It is the thing. The potters work in their workshops through the winter months. The kilns burn. The clay does what clay does when fire is applied to it. Outside, the sea is loud. Inside, the wheel turns. There is a Japanese word, mottainai, that has no direct translation. It means something like the sadness of waste, the feeling you have when something with value is discarded, used carelessly, or allowed to deteriorate through inattention. It is a moral concept as much as an aesthetic one, a feeling that objects, in their making, acquire a kind of dignity that deserves to be respected. Mottainai is one reason kintsugi exists, the practice of repairing broken ceramics with gold lacquer, making the repair itself the most beautiful part of the piece. A broken bowl, repaired in gold, is worth more than an unbroken one. The break is not hidden, it is honored. Hagi, Ware, and kintsugi share a philosophy that objects improve through what happens to them, that the evidence of time and use is not degradation but history, that the goal of an object is not to remain unchanged but to develop. This is, in a certain light, a very radical idea. Most of what we make and buy is premised on the opposite. The tea ceremony, in its traditional form, involves a great deal of looking. Before the ceremony begins, the objects are examined. The bowl is turned in the hands. The glaze is looked at from different angles. The foot ring is examined, its cut, its form, the way the potter left their mark, the tea scoop, the container for the powdered tea, the scroll on the wall. Each is considered. This is not connoisseurship in the sense of acquiring expertise in order to rank things. It is practice in attention, learning to look at an ordinary object slowly enough to see what is actually there. Most of what is actually there in a Hagi bowl has been there for 400 years and has been looked at by hundreds of people. And yet each person who looks slowly enough finds something, a quality of light on the surface, a particular passage in the glaze, a place where the thumb left a mark in the wet clay 3.5 centuries ago. The bowl rewards this attention. It was made in the expectation of it. The contemporary Hagi potters are not making museum pieces. Some of their work will eventually end up in museums. The best of any generation's work tends to. But the orientation of the tradition is toward objects that will be used today by people who are alive now. This creates an interesting tension with the tradition's historical weight. A Hagi bowl made today is made with the same clay, in the same kilns, using essentially the same techniques as one made 300 years ago. The form connects directly to the Korean potters who arrived in 1600, and yet the potter making it is a person of the 21st century, with a 21st century understanding of why tradition matters, not because it is old, but because it has tested certain ways of working against time and found that they hold. The best contemporary Hagi is neither nostalgic nor modern. It is simply present, made now, with full awareness of what came before, without being trapped by it. There is no proper ending to a tradition that is still going. The kiln in Hagi will be fired again this week by someone whose hands have been in clay for 30 or 40 years, using techniques that have been transmitted across 4 centuries and 400 years of mournings. The bowl that comes out of that firing will be given or sold to someone who will use it. They will make tea in it this winter and next winter and for many winters after that. The glaze will begin to change. The crazing will take on color. The bowl will become, gradually and irreversibly, the particular object that this person's particular life has made it. This has been happening in this town, on this grey coast, since before almost any living person was born. The kiln is lit. The clay is ready. The lanterns are lit. Sleep well.